Prologue. 10 days before the siege. Sol IOB-007 lay beneath them like a jewel scratched into stone. From orbit, the world looked calm, rocky ridges glinting beneath a pale sun, rivers of mineral-rich dust curling through jagged valleys, the occasional glint of metal where human hands had already claimed the surface. A year ago, the squad had landed here, 20 soldiers and a team of engineers, tasked with securing a foothold for what the company called Project Prosperity. In reality, it was about resources, rare ores, strategic metals, fuel for a growing human presence in the outer rim. The outpost had been built from scratch, building by building, wall by wall. Corridors snaked through the rock, walls reinforced with composite steel, bunkers dug into the ridges. A small network of sensors and communications relays kept the squad connected to orbital command. The miners had yet to arrive. Their crews and equipment would follow only once the outpost was deemed secure. Captain Reeve had walked every corridor in the early months, memorizing the layout like the lines on his palm. Mara had designed fallback points and redundancies for every conceivable breach. Lennox had found every corner where a bored soldier could hide, and occasionally, every corner where trouble could hide too. Together, they had made the base livable, survivable, and defensible. Now, 10 days before the official end of their tour, the routine had begun to feel like a trap. Replacements was due any moment, new personnel replacing them, fresh faces taking over the weary guard shifts. The miners would arrive shortly after that, their machinery tearing into the rock, extracting wealth from a planet that had lain dormant for centuries. But as Reeve walked the outer perimeter that evening, scanning the ridges through binoculars, he felt a chill that wasn't entirely from the thin air. The rock hummed faintly beneath his boots, a low vibration almost imperceptible. Mara had noticed it too in the sensor logs, subtle, fleeting spikes in thermal readings, inexplicable movement deep underground. Lennox had joked it was the planet shaking itself awake, and they had all laughed, dismissing it as nerves or fatigue. Still, the unease lingered. 10 days out from relief, and the outpost was theirs to guard. Every doorway, corridor, and approach was theirs to defend, and already, something beneath the surface seemed to be stirring. Reeve didn't know it yet, but this was the calm before the storm. Within hours of that unease, the ground would shake in earnest. The creatures that had slept for millennia, undisturbed deep beneath Sol IOB-007, were waking. And the squad, exhausted from a year of vigilance, expecting only their tour to finish, would find themselves facing a siege unlike anything they had prepared for. 10 days. 10 days to survive. 10 days to hold the line before anyone else could arrive. The first tremors ran through the ridges like a heartbeat. Slow, deliberate, hungry. Reeve gripped his rifle tighter, staring out across the rocky expanse. Somewhere beneath the surface, something had woken, and it was coming. Chapter 1. Day 1. The sky over Sol IOB-007 was the color of old iron. A hard, cold light bled through the clouds, flattening everything beneath it. The rocks, the dust, the jagged ridges that stretched for miles in every direction. Nothing moved except the wind. It dragged thin curtains of grit across the plain, whispering against the metal walls of Outpost Epsilon. 20 soldiers, 1 base, and 10 days of holding ground until the mining crews arrived. That was the job. Simple on paper. Captain Reeve stood on the perimeter wall, scanning the horizon through his visor. The world looked endless. No trees, no water, just cracked basalt and sharp shadows. His HUD readouts flickered. Atmospheric pressure dropping, slight temperature decline, storm activity building to the east. Routine. Predictable. The kind of data that made Command think everything was under control. It wasn't the readings that bothered him. It was the silence. Inside the walls, the squad was unpacking crates and swearing at machinery. The smell of burned wiring and disinfectant mixed with the dust. From one corner came the rhythmic clank of Lennox trying to kick life into a stubborn generator. "Bloody things possessed," the corporal muttered, boot connecting with metal. "You'd think if they can fly halfway across a galaxy, they'd learn how to make a plug that fits." Reeve dropped from the wall and crossed the yard, boots crunching grit. "Try not to break the only power source we've got before lunch, Corporal." Lennox straightened, wiping sweat from his brow, smirk half hidden under a streak of dust. "Wouldn't dream of it, sir. Just establishing dominance. Machines respect that sort of thing." Reeve gave him a look, the faintest flicker of amusement, then checked the readout on the generator himself. A few taps, and the hum evened out. "Dominance established," he said dryly. Lennox smiled. "Show off." They both turned as Lieutenant Mara approached, tablet in hand, her armor scuffed from work rather than combat. Calm, deliberate, eyes like polished steel. "Perimeter sensors are online," she said. "Drone patrols set to a 20-minute loop. Power grid stable for the moment." "For the moment?" Reeve asked. "There's seismic chatter about 4 clicks east. Could just be ground settling, but the readings don't look natural. Sharp spikes, irregular patterns." Reeve frowned. "Tremors?" "Small ones. Nothing to panic about. Yet." Lennox leaned in. "So the planet's burping. Brilliant. Bet that's in the brochure somewhere. All-inclusive stay, occasional tectonic indigestion." Mara ignored him, scrolling through the feed. "Command didn't mention this region being geologically active. Command rarely mentions the things that might make us say no," Reeve said. "Keep monitoring it. If it worsens, I want to know before the ground decides to open under us." She nodded. "Yes, Captain." By midday, the outpost had settled into rhythm. The squad rotated through drills, checked fortifications, tested turret calibrations. The hum of machinery replaced the wind for a while. Inside the mess tent, the air was thick with the smell of protein packs and recycled coffee. Reeve sat opposite Lennox, helmet resting beside him, steam rising from his cup. The table was scratched metal, the kind that looked like it had survived 5 previous deployments. "So," Lennox said, 10 days left of holding a mining camp on a planet no one's heard of. You reckon anyone's going to remember us when it's over?" "Only if we screw it up," Reeve said. "Comforting." Mara entered, setting her datapad down beside them. "Drone 5 just went dark. Signal cut out mid-transmission." Reeve looked up sharply. "Where?" "Same direction as the tremors." She expanded the hollow map on the table, showing the outpost and the faint topography eastward. The drone marker blinked red, then vanished. No warning. Just gone. Lennox whistled under his breath. Maybe it hit a rock, or got tired of this lovely weather and buggered off home. Mara ignored him again. "We should send a recon team. Check for signal interference." Reeve hesitated, weighing it. Back end of their tour and their start losing eyes in the field. He didn't like coincidences. "Take 2 with you," he said finally. "Don't go far. If the ground starts to move, you pull back immediately." "Understood," Mara turned to go but paused. If there's something alive out there. There isn't, Reeve said, more to steady the mood than because he believed it. This planet's been scanned top to bottom. It's empty. Right, Lennox muttered. Because scans never miss anything. The sun hung low by the time Mara's team reached the drone's last coordinates. The light had gone copper-gray, casting the ridges in long, jagged shadows. Dust drifted across the surface like smoke. "Command, this is Recon Team Alpha," Mara said into comms. "We're at grid 407, visual on the wreck." Reeve's voice came through with static. "Copy that. What do you see?" Mara knelt beside the drone, or what was left of it. The frame was twisted, the outer plating torn open like tin. The sensors had been ripped clean off. Around it, the ground was scarred, not by weather or tools, but by something sharper. Parallel grooves, deep, precise. "Looks like it hit something solid," one of her soldiers said. "Or something hit it." Mara scanned the area. The grooves extended outward, disappearing into the rocks. Too even to be natural, too deliberate. She crouched lower, brushing dust from one of the marks. It wasn't just a groove. It was an impression. A claw. The comm crackled. "Mara?" Reeve's voice again. "Yeah," she said quietly. "We've got contact signs. Large, quadruped or more. No heat signature, but..." A vibration rippled through the ground, cutting her off. A low, rolling tremor that made the rocks shiver underfoot. "Seismic spike!" one of her soldiers shouted. "Back to the outpost!" Mara snapped. "Now!" They turned, sprinting toward the transport. Dust clouds rose behind them, and for a moment, she thought she heard something under the rumble. A clicking noise, faint but deliberate, like something waking up. The tremor faded as quickly as it began. The plane went still again. Reeve met them at the gate, watching as the rover came skidding through in a storm of dust. Mara climbed out, helmet under her arm, eyes hard. "You weren't imagining those readings," she said. Reeve took the datapad she handed him. The seismic waveforms spiked across the screen, sharp, rhythmic pulses that didn't match tectonic activity. It looked more like movement. "Multiple sources?" he asked. "Several. Deep." Lennox appeared beside them, rifle slung across his shoulder. "If this planet starts crawling, I'm putting in for a transfer." "Where to?" Mara said. "You hate space." "Yeah, but at least the void doesn't bite back." Reeve looked past them toward the horizon. The wind was rising again, howling across the plain. In the distance, lightning flashed behind the storm front, a faint, sulphurous glow. "Double the watch on all gates," he said. "We're not taking chances." That night, the storm came in heavy. Rain hammered against the outpost roof. Thin, acidic stuff that left streaks on the metal. The wind howled through the gaps in the plating, making the whole structure groan. Inside, the squad huddled in dim light. The hum of machinery, their only comfort. Reeve sat at the command table reading the seismic feed again. The pattern had stopped when the storm hit. Whatever was under them, if anything, had gone quiet. Mara stood nearby, arms crossed. Maybe it was just the planet settling. "Maybe," Reeve said, not convinced. "Or maybe it's waiting." Lennox's voice came from the doorway. "If it is, tell it to wait till morning. I'm trying to sleep." Reeve looked up, expression dry. Sleep while you can, Corporal. Always do, sir. Especially before the horror part starts. He left, boots echoing down the corridor. Reeve looked back at the monitor. The tremor readings pulsed faintly once more, a slow, steady rhythm, like a heartbeat deep in the rock. He didn't say anything, didn't call it in, just watched it. Outside, the wind carried a low sound across the plain, a chorus of faint, overlapping clicks, almost hidden beneath the storm. The planet wasn't empty anymore. There is always a story to be told out here in the frontier, as long as there is someone to listen, like, and subscribe, and join us again for more.